I don't know. I'm trying to get up on trying to get Facebook up, but I don't know if it's down or what's going on there. But if you give me a second, I'm trying to check, make sure it's not me. See what's going on. But I'm glad that you are here. Glad that we have multiple platforms. We always have YouTube going as well. So you can always catch any of these talks on replay on any of those channels. While you're checking in, let me know where you're checking in from. Good to see you, Tim. Let me write this real quick. Men. We're going to talk about men without emotion. This topic has been a good one today. So we're going to keep it going. And I think we'll look at it from some different perspectives. And I'm sorry about this. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. So I'm trying to get it all set up live, get it going. All right. Well, this is not working out well this evening, but it's all right. We're going to keep it going anyway. All right. Now we got it. So sorry that this has been just a total mess so far, but we're straightening things out. This is what happens when you're doing something live, and things aren't working properly. So thanks for being here. Thanks for giving me these few moments to get things settled and straightened out, because they currently are a mess. All right. So, all right. We're good. We got it up. We got it going. What's up, Rachel? Forgive me for all that chaos there for a second. But let's jump into tonight's talk. So the reason I got on this topic of men not having emotions is because obviously sometimes we're on social media and different topics pop up. So this is like terrible tonight. I really apologize for this. All right. So different topics pop up, right? So the topic that popped up today was one I saw someone talking about how men don't have emotions. And so I just couldn't let it pass by, because I think it's such a ridiculous statement to think that men don't actually have emotions. And some people really wanted to defend it and talk about how men don't have emotions and how women are so different from men. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, if we are going to just simply operate in an emotional conversation, then we have to admit that logic is going to leave the building, because when emotions are high, logic is low. And so if we're going to have just an emotional conversation and just, kind of go that way, then sure, let's have this conversation and let's just kind of go through it without much logic. But if we're going to be honest, if we're really going to be intentional about life and developing healthy relationships, we need to really examine the stuff that we're being fed. Okay? Simply because a lot of people might join in and chime in and agree with it does not make it accurate. And so we know, first of all, that everyone has emotions. We know this, right? No one passes through this life without smiling, without crying, without being afraid, without being excited. Like, we all experience the same type of emotions. Okay, so this is across the board, male, female, we all have the same emotions. Now, someone was saying, like, Brian, you got to admit that women cry more than men. Well, first of all, there are more emotions than simply crying. Second of all, I was like, I don't know that women cry disproportionately more than men do. Now, we may see it depicted that women cry more publicly than men do, right? That sells in the movies. That sells on commercials. That sells, right? That emotion sells. Like a woman crying, this sells. We have to know that all of this stuff that we're a part of, everything that we see on TV and social media and all this stuff, there are lots of different transactions happening. And the thing that sells is going to be the thing that is put out there and pushed to the masses. Whatever sells. Violence sells, violence gets pushed. Sex sells, sex gets pushed. Women being super emotional, that's going to be pushed. That's what sells. All right. So when we're looking at, like, let's just understand that simply because we may not see men crying in abundance in public does not mean that a man does not cry in private. Just because you don't see him out in front of everybody crying does not mean that he does not sit in his car with his head in his hands, frustrated, tired, angry, sad, happy, crying. Now, we do know that in a couple of weeks, the Super Bowl is going to happen, and there's going to be a team that wins. There's going to be a team that loses. I guarantee you there are going to be men that cry on both teams. The winning team is going to have some men that cry. The losing team, they're going to have some men that are crying. In public, on TV. Now, somebody would say, well, that doesn't really count because they're athletes. Now, mind you, these athletes are athletes that are at the top of their profession, that run full speed into one another. They could be considered the manliest of the manly. They're the strongest, they're fast. These men are pretty manly, right, to use the term. But they will cry. Some of them are going to cry for the disappointment of losing. Some of them are going to cry because of the joy of victory. So how does this all play out? Why is it that on a football field with men playing a game and they win a championship or lose a championship, how come they will cry and express emotions? And yet it can be a conversation that men don't cry, that men aren't emotional, that the only emotion that men feel comfortable sharing is anger. These things are just not true. But if you believe this, then you will operate out of that way. Something you will hear me say repeatedly is when you argue for your limiting beliefs, you will keep them. And the results that you get from your limiting beliefs will be limited because you believe something that is designed to make something smaller. It's designed to take away. And so think about this. If a healthy, strong relationship is the agenda, is the objective, then obviously the best way to go about destroying that is to mess up the mindset of the person that you're in relationship with. Now, you know my position. I approach this from a biblical standpoint, kingdom-minded, biblical standpoint. Now, everybody might not be everybody's view. And I think that's very important. Whatever you think at your foundational level impacts the rest of your thoughts. So I believe, right, this whole process of creation and God, wanting a certain thing for mankind to live in harmony and love and to prosper and to flourish and to renew and to replenish. So I believe this. I believe that God has this design to see the best of people realized, even in relationships. The Bible says that marriage, it really isn't even about humans. It is about humans displaying a model of being like Christ in the church. That's why when it says in the Bible, husbands, love your wife, even as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. He laid down his life for her. So there's this model. It's like, okay, Christ in the church, husband, wife, head and body, like all these things. It's a template. It's a model. Like there's supposed to be a structure where there is care and complete wholeness and complete love. This isn't supposed to be all fractured. Now, if that being the case, and we have this desire and intention to be marriage-minded people that ultimately can dwell with someone and be naked and not ashamed, that we can be fully exposed and have no shame, then one of the best ways to start to undermine that is to sow seeds of, oh, this person doesn't have this, and that person doesn't have this capacity, and this person doesn't have that ability. And so now you start to undermine the capabilities of someone, the possibilities within them. And guess what? The whole relationship now is being undercut. You're poking holes in your own boat. If it is a relationship, that means you're poking holes in the boat and it is going to sink. I oftentimes find it fascinating that even people that say they believe the Bible, they're like, they'll make the same statement that men don't have emotions. Really now? Okay, well, let's just go back to the Bible. If it be true, right? If it's going to be true, what we believe here, right? And I know some people don't, but it's okay. Let's think about it. If the woman is actually drawn from the man, I wish I didn't prepare this, but if I have this cup, right? I have my big mug, right? And there is water in it. If I take this water and pour it into a different container, then everything that is in the one container is also in the other, but that container just has a different form, a different shape. So the makeup of whatever was in man when woman was drawn from him says that, well, if it's in you, it had to be in me. See, this is where we go wrong. And again, it's based off of your belief. If you believe foundationally that there's something that a man is missing, then by virtue, anything that came from that man has to be missing it too. But if something is taken from me and it has my DNA, and then you realize, oh, that's in there too, then guess what? You can trace that thing back to me. See, the Bible says that we were made in God's image and likeness. Okay, so that means we would be complete. Not just men, not just women, but we're all supposed to be complete. I mean, why would we debate this? But again, if we're going to just be emotional, then we'll never really get the answer. We'll never really understand what's going on. So you have to know that when you are watching something and listening to something, having conversations with someone, and they're going through all the trouble of creating a message and put it out there, it's for a particular reason. You might not know the reason. I'm telling you my reasons. I say what I say because I want to encourage people to have healthy, strong relationships, to see one another, and not just by whatever the popular culture terms and methodologies and mindsets are, but to think critically about how can I have the most rich relationship with this person? What is it that I need to find out? Here's what I believe. If you're in a relationship, male, female alike, if you're in a relationship with someone and you are unable to tap into their emotions, or they don't feel like they can share their emotions with you, there's a problem. Okay? Here's the problem. There's something in the way that we relate, that says, I do not feel comfortable exposing that part of me to you. Now, that stinks, right? Like, that doesn't feel good. And you might want to argue it and say, but you should. I've been here all this time and this, that, and the other. And you might want to tell a person why they should be able to feel safe with you. But that is not how safety works. Safety, security is based off of something that I deem in relationship to you. Like, okay, because I feel safe with you, I can expose this to you. You don't get to tell me that I need to feel safe. You can, but that's not how it works. And so I wanted to share, I was looking at, here's an example of this. You've ever heard the story of Samson and Delilah? Then there's a great story of emotion that most people probably haven't really realized. And it took me some time. I was reading through the story, and Samson, he's this great champion warrior. He's a certified killer, taking people out, right? And so you can read his story in the Bible, Judges chapter 16. But I want to point out some things to you about Samson. So Samson, the story opens up, he's getting with a harlot. And so people are surrounding him. They know he's in with this harlot, and they're like, we're going to jump him in the morning. We're going to get him. We're going to kill him in the morning, right? And so he doesn't even wait. He wakes up, he tears things up, and he leaves. And then the story goes like this, and just hang with me here for a second. It says, sometime later, I'm reading from the New International Version. Myself, I like the King James Version, but this reads a little easier. Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek whose name was Delilah. So Samson falls in love. This is not a lot of stuff that we normally hear. We just get to hear about her being such a bad woman, but no, he loved her, okay? The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, see if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so we might tie him up and subdue him. They're trying to capture him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. So Delilah said to Samson, tell me your secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued. So they're going to pay her so that she can, get his secrets. And so she walks up, she asks him, tell me your secrets so that you can be subdued. Samson answered her, if anyone ties me with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man. Then the rulers of the Philistine brought her 7 fresh bowstrings that had not been dried, and she tied him up with them. With men hidden in the room, She called to him, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. But he snapped the bowstrings, and easily as a piece of string snaps when it comes close to a flame. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Then Delilah said to Samson, you have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come now, tell me how you can be tied. So this happens 3 different times. She goes to him. She asked him. He gives her an answer. Lie. Second time, she comes back to him. She asked him again. He lies again. Third time, right? She asked. So each time, every time she asked him what was going, how to tie him up, he would tell her something, and then she would do it. So he would wake up knowing, I just gave you access to my weakness, and I see that you were willing to exploit it. Not once, not twice, but 3 times I told you where I was weak. And 3 times you tried to make me weak. So let's think about this. Samson's a man. He's strong. He's the strongest of the strong. And yet he's still trying to protect himself. So here's what happens later on in the story after she's like upset because this has happened three times. And so here's what happens. So she pulls this card on him. She says, Samson, she's like, how can you say you love me when you won't confide in me? This is the 3rd time you made a fool of me and haven't told me the secret of your great strength. With such nagging, she probed him day after day until he was sick to death of it. Now, in the King James Version, I like that version better the way it says it, because it says, and it came to pass when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him so that his soul was vexed to death. She wore him out. This dude, he's like giving her stories, giving her lies. She's trying these lies out. She's trying to figure out what makes him weak. So then when she finally gets super upset, she pulls the love card. You said you love me. Why won't you tell me? She vexes this man to death, it says. Vexed his soul to death. And then, so he says, and it came to pass after she vexed him to death that he told her all of his heart. And said unto her, there has never been a razor upon my head from the time that I have a Nazarite from God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. And when Delilah saw that he told her all of his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, come up this once, for he showed me of his heart. The lord of the Philistines came up unto her and brought money in their hand. So they're going to pay her now. Now watch this. And she made him sleep upon her knees. And then after that, she called for a man. They shave off his hair. So the story goes. You can read the rest of it, Judges chapter 16. But I want to point out some things. He loved her. He lied to her because he didn't feel comfortable exposing himself, his weaknesses to her. After a while, she vexes his soul to death. He finally exposes all of his heart and gets him to rest upon her knees. And guess what? That's the end of him. He ends up losing all of his strength. Let's just think about this. When we talk about men not being emotional, she missed all the clues. He was sharing with him the emotion. You want to know what emotion it was? It was emotion of lack of safety. It was a lack of trust. Here's my emotion, Delilah. I love you. I don't trust you. I didn't say that he loved her. The Bible said he loved her. But clearly his action said, I don't trust you. So I don't trust you is big. I don't feel comfortable enough to reveal this part of me to you. I'm with you, but my heart is not there. I'm holding some things back. He is expressing his emotion through his lies. See, sometimes we're looking for tears or we're looking for anger. No, no. Mm-mm. How about we stop looking for emotions and start recognizing what emotions are there? See, we've been handed a script. When something happens, this is what you should look for. And then when that thing doesn't happen, and now we're all offended because why aren't you crying? Why aren't you happy? Why aren't you this? Why didn't you give me the response that I wanted from you? No, that's not how emotions work. That person is wired completely different from you. It's not an absence of emotion. It's an absence of awareness on our part of this person's emotions. See, the expression of their emotions. If we really see, this is why being intentional is so fun. When you're building a relationship and you're really being intentional, it becomes fun because you get to be an investigator. You get to ask questions. Why? What? I wonder what's going on. What's happening here? What do they feel? What are they experiencing? Let me be curious about them and not simply project onto them what should happen. Because listen, what can happen is we can end up nagging and tormenting and vexing someone's soul to death because we are so about our own self with our own agenda for what we want that we are not even relating to a person where they are. Major difference. It's not about the emotion that we want from them. Like, can we be more present to allow them to be where they are? And guess what? The more we can allow someone to show up where they are and with their emotions, how they are, guess what that does? If we can make a safe place for a person where they are, and that person feels safe enough to deposit what they deposit, if we are faithful with a few things, then we get opportunity for more things. So if you take care of the emotions that you're given, guess what? Then somebody says, okay, I was able to share this. I didn't get all this backlash. That was kind of safe. I might give a little bit more. Let me share a little bit more. Let me be a little bit more vulnerable. Express myself a little bit more because I don't feel like feelings, right? Feelings. I don't feel like I'm going to get attacked. See, let's really ask the question. If someone does not want to show emotions, how do they feel? Have you ever asked someone? Do you feel like I might attack you? And it doesn't have to be in a romantic situation. It could be at work. It could be with your children. It can be with an animal. Even animals are aware enough to know, oh, this person is coming with some aggression. Your energy precedes your words. I show people all the time with the horses. I'm like, okay, you have to turn up your energy or you have to turn down your energy because that horse feels the way you are approaching the horse knows that you are coming in hot like a predator. That horse is a prey animal. You're coming in too hot. So the horse might run away or might swing his rear end around and throw a kickback at you. See, you have to know, it's about you becoming aware of you. When you are aware of you, then it will help you become aware of what's going on with someone else because you'll start to understand the vibe that you give off. This idea that men aren't emotional, no, that's a trick. That's deception that is being fed to you. Because if you can buy into that deception, it will undermine and harm your relationships. If your relationship is undermined and harmed, and you never grow into that place of being connected and having harmony and unity, then you could never illustrate and represent that picture of Christ in the church. Now, again, you might be like, but I don't believe that. That's not my faith. That's fine. I'm sharing from you from my perspective and what the Bible says, that in our relationships, especially when we get into being married, we are to represent Christ in the church. We're supposed to be an earthly model of the kingdom of God. It's not about just we do what we do. No, we are in a role representing something so that someone can have a picture Like someone should be able to look at our relationships and say, man, so that's what God looks like in relationship to us. That's how God loves us. Wow, I get it. Because I saw that person love that person, and I saw that person love that person. I have a better picture. Now, listen, here's a question. What about if someone's overly emotional? I'm going to call a 20-second timeout. 20-second timeout. Emotion is something that happens in response to something else. Okay? So let's find the trigger. What triggered the emotion? Something had to happen. Okay? So something had to happen. Now, if we decide that this person, in our personal evaluation, this person is overly emotional, meaning we have decided that the reaction that this person is giving is more than what's required. Well, if we decide that someone's overly emotional, then what's our next thought going to be? We need to bring them down. We need to get them out of this overly emotional state. Okay? And it could be that that person is so emotional, they're so emotionally charged in that moment that logic is really leaving the building fast and something dangerous is about to happen. This happens. People will get so emotional, so afraid that all of a sudden they just lash out. I can tell you, when someone is hurt, we are emotionally hurt and we're in this place of sadness and we just know we're wounded. We're hurt. Our hearts have been hurt, heartbroken. That in that situation, what are we likely to do? Many of us first are likely to ball up. Let me not talk about many of us. Let me just talk about this guy. If I'm hurt, I'm not a lasher outer. I'm going to retreat. I'm going to go internal. I'm going to close up. Okay. So when I was going through my divorce and all that stuff, I described myself as a wounded lion in a cave bleeding out. This is a picture of me. So if you have that picture in your mind, a wounded lion in a cave bleeding out, guess what I didn't want to do? I didn't want to trust anybody. So there was no. Trust level was low. So I'm like, no, trust level is low. I don't want you close to me. I'm going to keep you at a distance. Now, in order for someone to get close to me, they were going to have to be super methodical. They were going to have to, they couldn't come charging in, because if you come charging in, I'm backed against the wall. I'm going to be even more resistant. Right? And so we have to understand, when someone is going through something emotionally, it's invisible. We don't see what's going on the inside of them, but we just see the response that's happening on the outside of them. So now we have to think. Now, what did I say earlier? When emotions are high, logic is low. So we have to become the logical one. We have to think. If this person is so emotionally charged, we have to do more thinking. If you meet emotion with emotion, you got a bomb. Something is it's going to be an explosion. So this is why logic has to enter the room. Right? One of the techniques in massage, right? One of the things we do in massage, when someone is like very energetic and they're just go, 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 go. One of the things that I'll do in a massage is simply rest my hands on them at the beginning of the session. I'll rest my hands on them and just ask them to breathe. Like just taking them through a breathing process. Right? Technique. Someone is emotionally charged. They're super high. Energy is super high. Something you can do, you figure out a way to go super low. You can change your voice. Right? You bring your volume down. You become the calm in the midst of their storm. If they're in an emotionally highly charged situation, then you got to bring the peace. You can't jump into that as the storm, because now it just starts to build. So there's so much. This is why our personal approach to our self-awareness and our self-wellness is so important, because relationships mean by definition, we are interacting with someone else that is not us. When we choose to relate to a different interpersonal relationships mean we're interacting with someone that is not us. They don't operate like us. They don't think like us. They don't experience life like us. So then you have to be really aware of you. And if you feel rejected because this person's not talking to you and they're not sharing the emotion that you're looking for and they don't seem so happy, and you got to call time out. Make it about them, what their experience is, not about you. Like, honor their moment. Don't require them to be happy. Don't require them to start crying. Don't require them to be angry. Don't require that. Let them process how they process, and you practice being a safe space. You practice being a place where that person can feel comfortable and safe expressing themselves. And please, please don't throw out some general statement to them, such as, see, men aren't emotional. See, women always act this way. Don't do that. Because now you've just lumped them in with a group and you've just told them, I'm going to reference a lot of people that I don't have a personal relationship with, and I'm going to throw you in that group and distance myself from you. We have to be aware what our words are actually saying when we say certain things. When we make generalizations, we have decided that we are going to make our relationship less intimate, less personal. I'm lumping you in with everybody else. Because clearly I have not equipped myself to be able to say, honey, I understand that you went to work today, you twisted your ankle, you got a flat tire on the way to work, you dropped your lunch in the mud, and your soda was flat. I understand why you're frustrated. And maybe somebody didn't tell you all that, but you watched them and they walked in and their vibe was just something seems a little off. But because I know, again, we go back to knowing, we talk about knowing, that's our jam, right? When we want to know and be known. We're not just talking superficial love. We're talking, I want to know and be known. So when that person walks in and their vibe is a little different, you know something is off because you have intimate knowledge of them. You say, I know something is off. And because I know he or she needs a few minutes, they need some time just to decompress. I'm not going to just jump in right here and like, tell me what's wrong. What's going on with you? It just no. I know my person. I don't need to do that. Let me just give it some time. Let me let it breathe. Let me just be a safe space. Let me just go get her a warm tea. Or let me just walk up and just hand her the remote control. Or let me just go and I see him sitting there having a drink and watching some TV. I know he's a physical touch, quality time type of guy. Let me just cozy up to him, put my butt on him, put my foot on him, put my shoulder on him. Let me just bump into him a little bit. Let me not ask him anything. Let me just be a safe space because I know him, because I know her. I know how they move. I've studied them. And because I study, I make their emotions safe. Then I don't necessarily need to see all the emotions, but I'm connected to the heart. See that girl, Delilah? She started off, I want to know what makes you weak. She jumped in. She jumped in hot. I want to know, you love me, right? You love me, yes. I want to know what makes you weak. She went to the depths of his existence. This dude is a champion warrior. I want to know what makes you weak. I want to know what makes you like every other man. What could I do to make you weak like every other dude? Does that sound like a normal conversation to have where you would think somebody would feel totally comfortable? Come on now, we got to strategize a little better than that. If you want to find out someone's weaknesses, allow them to be strong around you. Allow them to be strong. Allow them to be strong, and then allow them to rest. Don't ask them what their weaknesses are. Allow them to be strong. Allow them to rest. Allow them to be strong. Allow them to rest. Because guess what? The secret is if I can rest with you, I have taken off all of my armor. If I'm going to lay my head in your lap and go to sleep, I'm powerless. There's something about you that I could be comfortable with you if you weren't vexing my soul. See, we start to change it. And this goes both ways. I, as a man, need to be just as much as a welcoming place, right? Like I can't. I've heard it enough, right? I've heard the saying, "Women don't want a man that's going to fix it," right? We don't want you to fix it. I've read the articles, I've seen the conversation, heard the conversations. We don't want you to fix it. Sometimes we just want you to listen. Well, you hear that enough, and some of us we want to fix it because it's logical. Like if it's broke, fix it. Okay, but no, you don't want me to fix it. I need to just now. I'm going to have to not make it about me. Lord knows, I just want to fix it. Nah, don't though. Just listen. And so you guys sit, bite your tongue, bite your lip. Just be here for her. Don't fix it. Don't fix it. Fight yourself to not do what might be natural for you to allow them to have the moment that's for them. Come on now. This is why relationships, this is why it's impossible to have so many and think you're going to be good at it. No, because this thing is about going deep. This thing is about unpacking. Like if you want to have life and love more abundantly, you don't just do it in general. You're intentional, you're focused. This has got to be on purpose. Again, study to show yourself approved. Study to show yourself worthy of being in this moment. So you don't have to be ashamed. You got to study your person. You need to know some things. And I listen, I said it the other night with all these lights on. The more we turn on lights, the more we drive out darkness. And you might think, well, just simply saying that men aren't emotional, that's not darkness. Oh, yeah, it is. It is. Because what it's going to do is going to keep you in the dark as it pertains to knowledge of someone. It's going to keep you from exploring how to create greater connection because you are already disqualifying someone from their capabilities. You have already counted that person out. And you might say, but they're just words. But with words, everything that we see is established. Words change the world. You want to see a man change or you want to see a woman change? Start looking at the words that you use and how you use them with a person. Tell somebody, how often do you do this? How often do you thank someone for allowing you to be their person? Just being like, babe, thank you for trusting me. Not waiting for a big moment. Just in any moment, just thank you for trusting me. Thank you for allowing me to see you at your best or your worst. Thank you for allowing me to see you when you struggle. Thank you for trusting me when things aren't right. Thank you for being vulnerable. I appreciate you trusting me. Is there anything that I can do to continue to grow this trust? Is there anything, hey honey, is there anything that I can do today, this week, so that I can make this relationship a safe space for you where you can thrive? Come on now, that's a different kind of conversation. You lead with that, you're like, what can I do to make you feel safe? Somebody probably be like, what? Never really thought about it. Or they might have an answer. They might say, look, when I'm frustrated, don't ask me. Give me a few minutes before I'll let me get to it. One of mine, I'm like, don't ask me what I'm thinking. Don't ask me. because I could be thinking any number of things. And if you catch me in the midst of the wrong thought, you might be totally like, dang, you were thinking that? Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, maybe this thing should be over. Like, no, no. And then you catch somebody in the wrong moment, give them time. Let them work through it. Like, I need to process. I need to process it first. Don't just jump in wanting to know, because in my mind, there's a lot of things going on. But you have the power to be strategic enough to create a safe space if that's what you desire. But let me just tell you, if you buy in to what is commercially sold to you, it's going to put you on the wrong track. Here's why. The greatest religious institutions, commercial institutions, social media institutions and establishments and companies, all of these entities all operate off of your brokenness, off of your woundedness, off of your feeling hurt and damaged. They all operate the same way. Religion operates this way. Why? Like, Brian, what do you mean? As long as you are broken, as long as you are heartbroken, disappointed, feeling like a sinner that can never achieve anything, and you're going to be a sinner for life, and you got to keep coming back to get saved over and over again. As long as you are in this place that commercially you are heartbroken and your relationship isn't what it's supposed to be, you know what you're going to do? You're going to keep showing up to their institutions. You're going to keep buying their products. You're going to keep scrolling on their social media platforms, dreaming about the life that you wish you had. That's the game. If we're just going to pull the covers back, that's the game. That's why you don't, and I've grown up in church my entire life, but the religious system is not for empowering people. The religious system is for keeping people in slavery. Now, there are plenty of people that won't like this. It doesn't make it any less true. That's why people think that the Bible is about religion. It is not. No, in the very first chapter, it says, hey, you were made in God's image and likeness to be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion. That no part of that says be a slave to somebody else and be underneath someone else's oppressive thumb. No part of that. This is in the very first chapter. You were made in my image and likeness to be an authority in the world, to rule over your situations and your circumstances. You were made to be strong. You were made to have a relationship, like it says in Genesis, with the male and the female, the man and the woman together. They were both naked and not ashamed. Your relationship was made for that. This is the design. This is not something you're supposed to stumble across. This is something that you are designed to have. Anything outside of that, you're malfunctioning. This is why so many people feel depressed, because they have not seen the greatest part of them revealed. So the greatest part of them is being depressed and pushed down. And so people are disappointed and jumping off bridges and taking drugs and all these things. And they're searching for answers. But the answer is in you becoming complete and whole. But there are systems that are actually built against you that want to keep your mind from realizing the truth. The truth is you were meant to thrive. Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and have life more abundantly. Now, how many people are living in that space? How many people look at their lives and say, oh, not only am I living, but I am living more abundantly? No. Rather get people frustrated with the Bible and arguing if it's real, because no, we certainly don't want you to know. Guess what? There is so much money in treatment that they don't want to see you cured. The money is in treatment. The money is not in seeing you empowered and strong and healthy and going on. That's why people never graduate out of these systems. That's why people will scroll all day long. And that's why you got to keep going back and buying products. You get into a relationship, you break up, you're so sad, you buy some products. We tell you you're not pretty enough. You need to buy this makeup. You need to get this bust enhancer. You need to buy this bra. You need to go get a BBL. You need to do all these things in order to qualify and be good enough for your next relationship. When God said from the very beginning, I made you in my image and likeness. Girl, you were good enough. Man, you were good enough from the jump. I designed you. Mwah, perfect. No. And then religion's going to tell you how you're just a sinner. You're just a sinner. They're never letting you free of that. So keep you under condemnation, and you're like, I don't know, I just never feel good enough. That is not even what Jesus said. People don't tell you. How come people don't celebrate more often that Jesus said, greater works than me shall you do? How come that is not something that we are like, I want to be greater than Jesus? How come? If we're really about that life, how come people don't mention that more often? How come we don't talk about, it says, this same mind that was in Christ Jesus, let it be in you? How come? The same mind, not a different mind, the same mind. He didn't have a loser mind. I'm just saying, how come we don't have those conversations? If people really want the best of you, they should be trying to free you they should be trying to free you. Jesus did such a good job. He was like, I'm going to teach these people and then I'm going to die. But then my work is going to continue going on because I did so good at empowering other people that guess what? Even if you kill me, my message still lives on. He wasn't trying to create dependent people that were just like, I can't make it because you're not here. No. That's why when you hear me say at the end of my message, my name is B.A. Shepherd, 2 P's, A-R-D, reminding you to be a shepherd because the world has enough sheep. Why do I say that? Because everything reproduces after its own kind. And yes, you've heard it said, and often you've probably heard it said more and more and more in the church, that we are the sheep, we are his sheep, we are his sheep. Yes, there's an aspect of that, but he is the good shepherd, and shepherds reproduce shepherds. That's why he says in the Bible that he is the King of kings and the Lord of lords. I am the king of other kings. I am the Lord of other lords. I am the owner of other owners. Think about it. The conversation, sometimes we hear things and it's just right over our head. He's like, no, you're a king. I have an expectation of you. I am a king of kings. And I know sometimes women struggle and like, but I'm not a king. Listen, if I can be the church, if I can be the bride of Christ, you can be a king too. And guess why? Because the two shall be called one. He called their name Adam. He said it was one name, Adam. Adam called her name Eve. God didn't call her name Eve. Adam called her name Eve. They had one name. And so if I am the bride of Christ and Christ is the king, then I'm king too. One name. So it's unity. Yeah, we can call one name. Because it's just oneness. Oh, man. This is why, listen, I don't know what just happened right there, but it bothers me when I see people being oppressed. It bothers me when I see people being lied to. And so systematically and so blatant. And so this is why, like, I'm encouraging you. I am wanting my very best to provoke something in you to stand up and say, you know what? I'm not buying the lesser life anymore. I'm not buying that I'm living beneath my potential. I'm not buying broken relationships. I'm not buying that anymore. I see what you're selling me. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying not good enough. That is unacceptable to me. And so I want to encourage you. I want to see you grow. If this time next year there's been no growth and it's all like, I just need to wait for the next thing that Brian says, that means I did a terrible job. That means I failed you. When I knew in the gym, when I owned my gym and I was working with the women, the one thing I told them as a trainer, I was like, listen, when you work with me, I'm giving you everything. I'm giving you everything that I know, because there's going to come a time when you have to leave, or there's going to be a time when I'm no longer here. And I want you to know what to do so that no one can sell you lies. If you go to another gym, I don't want you to go into somebody's gym and they're going to tell you some flim flam crap about how to exercise and just try to sell you a training package. No, you need to know everything. And to this day, I had a message the other day. Happy 8th anniversary, Brian. From a woman. I'm doing my workouts and I have my training log, and these are the sets and things that I'm doing. Equipped, empowered, thriving. I'm not sending her workouts. She got it. See, that's how this thing's supposed to be. It bothers me to go into church and see the same people sitting in the same seats all the time. I'm like, why y'all still here? You didn't graduate into nothing else yet? You just sitting there warming the seat? Get up out of that seat and get in the game. All this time, you've been in here 20 years. You should have started something by now. you need to be out touching the world. You don't need to be sitting here just always consuming. You need to be producing, right? Like, oh, you got to get in the game, right? You got to get in the game. And so I just encourage you to become more and more aware of the root of the things that are told to you. You've probably heard it said that the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, it doesn't actually mean all evil comes from loving money. It really means all kinds. Like the love of money can produce all kinds of different evil. And so when you look at the words and you look in their original text, you'll find out like, oh, that it really means all kinds. Not every situation happens because of the love of money. That's not true. That gets misrepresented because people haven't taken time to study. But that's why I like to explain. Like, no, here, I can show you the Bible app that I use, and here's what I use. And you can look up the words for yourself, because when you know what they mean, then you know what the meaning is. But the love of money drives people into the slavery of, I need you to keep coming back. And so people, circumstances, organizations, companies, there are a lot of them that are so happy with you to be in broken relationships so you can just keep coming back hurt. I'm not for that life. I'm not for that life. I want you to be so strong, strategic. Like, we've had conversations, many of you have told me, like, Brian, in the days ahead, you're going to get so many messages from people that are starting and having healthy relationships and marriages. And yeah, that's the expectation. I'm like, we're going to go from healthy exclusives, that's what we call us that are not married, to healthy marriage-minded married people. Marriage-minded exclusive, marriage-minded married people. And if you don't get married, that's all good. You don't have to get married, but you're going to still be just as exclusive in other aspects and areas of life, having the same standards, because relationships are relationships. How we relate to people, it doesn't change. We might have a different application, but we need to understand strategy and formula and technique and intentionality. So it's all good. It doesn't have to be about you being married, but you got to have a mindset that says, I'm not going to do this accidentally. I'm going to intentionally work on having a thriving, more abundant relationship through this application. So be encouraged. Be encouraged that your life is changing every day. You have the opportunity to change it every day. You can press into it. You can be more strategic about it, but just stop buying the lies. Don't buy the lies that someone's selling to you. Right? Like, just don't buy it. Examine. If you hear, look, here's a little hint. If you hear a whole lot of people saying it, pause. Like, pause on it. Just be like, wait a second. Does that even make sense? Men aren't emotional. Does that make sense? No, that's a trick. If you ever hear something that's super general, it's a good chance it might be super flawed. So, all right, let's shut it down for the night. I want to bless you with a prayer, if you don't mind. Thank you, Lord, for this day that you have made for us to rejoice and be glad. And thank you for being our shepherd that leads us and guides us so that we shall not want. Thank you for the truth of your word and the truth and the power of application, that we would not only be hearers, but doers of the word. And as we are doing, our life is being changed and transformed, and we are going from one level of glory to another level of glory. You're changing us. Thank you that you've been mindful of us in this moment and given to us instruction that we can operate with, that we will not be weak, that we will not just be passive and letting life just press us down, but we would be operating and living as the image and likeness that you created us, in the image and likeness that you created us to have, which is your own. I thank you for each and every person that is here right now, those that are a part of Team Replay. I thank you for them. I thank you for their life. I thank you for their heart. Thank you for their ambitions and their drive. I thank you for the possibilities of their life. I thank you that tonight is a brand new, fresh start, that someone's life will never again be the same because of these moments and what happens hereafter. I pray that someone would take these words and apply them to their life and run like never before. Run with this desire to be intentional, to be strategic, to be mindful, to be aware, to be selfless, to die to their own needs and desires for what has to be, and become even more present for someone else. Help us to realize that we have an opportunity to share life and share moments with someone. Help us to realize what an amazing and special gift it is to have a relationship with someone, and help us to cherish it and help us to nurture it and cultivate it and bring forth life from it. Help us to be aware of how to be the safe space, how to be that place where the armor can come off and someone not feel like they're getting ready to be attacked. Help us to be responsible with these opportunities. And I pray that as we become more and more responsible and more aware, and as we lean into being more intentional, that you would prosper and bless our relationships richly. I pray that we would not only have them, but we would have them more abundantly. That there would be more smiles, there would be more joy, there would be greater connection, that there would be greater freedom, and that we would operate without shame. That we could be fully exposed to one another, allowing ourselves to know and be known. And Lord, we'll thank you right now in advance, because we count it as done. So we don't have to wait until we see it. We thank you for putting us on the right path, and we acknowledge that this path is a path of truth and life. And so we thank you for what shall be, for what we shall see in the days ahead. We thank you, because we know that it is done as we align with your will. Then we know that the answer to every prayer is yes and amen. So we thank you and we appreciate you. And I pray that each and every person, you would encamp angels about them to keep them safe and protected, give them wonderful rest tonight or whatever time it is that they go to sleep again, and prosper them in their day. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Wonderful evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you greatly. And thanks. I really do appreciate you. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your interaction. Thank you for your presence, all the hearts and all that great stuff. Thank you. The comments, all that stuff is wonderful. And you know what? It, for the sake of algorithms and all that good stuff, it makes an impact, because it tells these platforms that, you know, whatever is happening here is something that we want to happen. It's something that we want to put out there. And as we continue to grow and develop, then guess what? We get to spread. We get to be a light that shines wherever we are. So thank you for being a light that shines. My name is B.A. Shepherd, 2 P's A-R-D, reminding you to be a shepherd. The world has enough sheep. Love you much. Have a wonderful night. See you.